Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you everyone for joining today and welcome to our session. We are talking today about financing your education in Canada, and to give you an overview of today's session, the topics that I am going to be covering are studying in Canada, the budget and cost related to studying in Canada, anticipating the cost of study, planning for the duration of your study in terms of your finances, international undergraduate tuition fees at Trent, different ways to finance your learning in terms of the sources of fundings, and I'm going to overview some of the various sources of funding that you can consider before, during your study, and hopefully not after, but there are options for after as well. So let's start with studying in Canada. Just some fun facts about Canada. Everything that you see on this page and everyone that you see on this page is from Canada or is Canadian. Now, you may or may not know that Canada actually, a Canadian invented basketball. You can see the Toronto Raptors is a famous Canadian NBA team, but we also invented the sport. We invented IMAX theater, we invented insulin, and of course, you may not know that we invented peanut butter. And the top right-hand corner is a picture of a famous Canadian dish, which is called poutine, which consists of French fried potatoes covered with curd cheese and gravy. So all our Canadian students must take a taste of poutine. So first of all, I'm going to start in very general terms and talk about why students would choose to study in Canada. Canada is actually the #1 destination country for education. And the reason why Canada has this reputation as being an outstanding destination to study is because of the quality of our education system and the character of Canada itself. We are a welcoming and non-discriminatory society, and we have a reputation as being a safe and stable country. 93% of students who come to Canada to study are happy with this decision to come to Canada. We have affordable tuition fees and we have an affordable cost of living, especially when you take into consideration the value of our currency in contrast with some other destination country currencies. And of course, consistently high rankings of quality of life in Canada really speaks to why people want to come and study in Canada. Further to that high student satisfaction rate, and I've already made these comments, sorry, we have a stable government and economy. So this is another marker that really does make Canada an attractive study destination. A final reason is because Canada welcomes immigration. So students who come and study in Canada have a range of opportunities and pathways to stay and work in Canada after they've graduated, and potentially stay in Canada and become part of Canadian society. To give you a sense of where in Canada the majority of students go, or what the distribution is of students in Canada, you will see that Ontario is hands down the #1 destination for students coming to study in Canada, and that's where Trent University is located. The reason that Ontario is that main destination is because both the economic hub of Canada is located in Ontario, as well as the political hub of Canada. So both Ottawa, which is our nation's capital, and Toronto, which is our provincial capital, are located in Ontario. And also the 25% of our gross domestic product is actually based in Ontario alone, out of all of the provinces and territories in Canada. So let's start thinking about the cost of studying in Canada and the budget and how to budget for those costs. So what are the different costs to studying in Canada? Well, first of all, there are the tuition fees. And tuition fees will vary by the program that you're interested in studying in, the level of program that you're interested in studying in, and the year of study. So the first year of the program is not necessarily the same amount that is paid year over year. And in undergraduate programs, it's actually that it becomes less expensive as you progress through your programs in some cases. There are also student fees that are paid in conjunction with tuition fees. So the tuition fees are the fees associated with the facilities, the amenities, and the services that you have access to on campus. As international students, health insurance is required as part of your stay in Canada. So there are actually two forms of health insurance that come into play. And even though these are a cost, there are obviously a benefit as well. So the University Health Insurance Plan, which is coined UHIP, that is the mandatory insurance for students in Canada. We also offer extended coverage through our student association, which will cover paramedical services and supports, such as dental, such as chiropractic or massage treatment, such as prescriptions and medications that are only available from a medical professional. So these kinds of coverages are actually pay for themselves because it's a small amount to pay in lieu of having to take on the cost of purchasing medication, in the cost of seeing a dentist in Canada, which can become very, very costly. So these are well worth the cost. They are an investment into your health and your well-being while in Canada. You also have to think about the cost of textbooks and course materials, the cost of living and staying in Canada, which can be on campus or off campus. And you will have different reasons for choosing either off-campus housing or on-campus housing. You also have to think about transportation, and then of course, just spending money and being able to do things outside of just studying. So it's important to plan for the entire duration of study. Tuition fees are paid year over year. We need to also factor in the inflationary increases that can range from 1 to 2.5% year over year. One of the benefits of living off campus after first year is that it teaches responsibility, independence, it teaches work-life balance, and it teaches many other important life skills such as time management, organization, and just independent living. International undergraduate tuition at Trent is about $25,000 per year. So this is for the period from September to December, and that is the portion of the program that is covered in regular tuition fees. Students can elect to stay and study during the summers. However, those fees are in addition to that regular academic year. There is also the ancillary fees, which covers all of those amenities and supports. It allows students to have access to our health services, our counseling services, our academic skills services, all of the facilities on campus, including the gym, the athletics facilities, etc. You need to factor in a range from about $9,000 to $14,000 per year in living expenses. That would include accommodation, food, and transit and things like that. The range is because of the different options in the living arrangements. So you might choose to have a solo room, a private room in residence, Or you may choose to live in a shared student house with other roommates where you have your own kitchen, you share that kitchen, you share the house itself, and you are living more independently, which can save money, as well as the books and school supplies that you'll need each year and personal expenses. So in terms of anticipating the cost of studying, each year will range between about $40,000 to $45,000 Canadian dollars each year. So that's a big chunk of money. How do you finance your education? Well, there are various sources of funding that you can look to for financing your education. First of all, there is funds that you may have been setting aside, knowing that you are planning to study in Canada in the future. So as a family, you may be setting aside an education fund to allow that to happen, which can really help. We also have scholarships and awards at the university, and there are also scholarships and awards that exist outside of the university. So you can apply for and secure many different types of scholarships. Trent University offers prestigious global citizenship scholarships. If you are planning to study in September of 2022, unfortunately, those scholarships, the applications to those scholarships have now closed. However, entrance scholarships are still available to students, and they range from $1,000 to $3,000 Canadian per student for as an entrance scholarship that is based on your academics in high school. Some scholarships are one-time scholarships, other scholarships are renewable scholarships, which means that if you maintain the criteria for that scholarship year over year, the value of that scholarship is renewed year over year. We also offer in-course bursaries, which are funds that are for current students at the university. So each year we will make an announcement that the bursary applications are open and students will apply to funds while they are still a student. So these are separate from scholarships. These are bursaries, or amounts of money that are available to students who are already studying at the university and who are seeking additional sources of funding. And the scholarships range from partial to full scholarships. So for students who are applying for a future term beyond September of 2022, there are full scholarships that are available that cover full tuition, and they are renewable. So the total value can be close to 110,000 Canadian dollars over that 4-year period. The other categories of funding are grants and loans, and these can come from a variety of sources. So your home country may offer scholarships, grants, or loans for study in Canada. Research organizations will also fund study and research at university at the undergraduate and graduate levels. Governments, both Canadian and international, can provide special funding opportunities. There are also government partnership scholarships, which will represent opportunities for Canada and other different countries in the world to encourage students to study in Canada. I'm thinking of the ASEAN scholarships which allow Asian students to study in Canada. There are also programs like ELAP for students in Latin America and CARICOM funding for students in the Caribbean as examples. Community service clubs also offer various forms of fundings and scholarships for students, as well as private sources of grants and loans. So, you can pursue some variety of different sources of funding from private sources as well. Now I'm going to interject here and just pop in a testimonial from one of our students who came to Trent as a scholar himself. He was awarded a prestigious global scholarship and studied at Trent in international development studies, and has gone on to study at Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. I'm going to get you to please mute yourselves. Thank you. So Joshua is someone who I'm still in touch with. He is now in the UK studying. While he studied at Trent, he went and did a study abroad as well. And so, you know, these opportunities to seek out scholarships and have the opportunity to study abroad just continues to create more opportunities in the future. I'm sorry, I'm just, so for 2022, as I mentioned, the renewable scholarships, these global citizenship scholarships are now closed. They will reopen for 2023 at this time. However, there still are entrance scholarships that are being applied to everyone who is applying for September 2022. You can also glean the internet and find other forms of scholarships and resources. These would include Scholarships Canada, who offer scholarships with various types of criteria. There is a Western Union scholarships program, and there is a CALE scholarship. CALE is the Canadian Assessment of English Language. It's an ESL test, or an English language proficiency test, but they also offer scholarships to students who are coming to study in Canada. Here's another example of one of our scholars who has become a PhD student studying in environmental and life sciences, and also was able to come and start her academic career at Trent through a Global Citizenship Award. Other sources of funding include bursaries and loans. So bursaries are based on financial need. And as I mentioned before, we do offer in-course bursaries to students each year. So current students have access to funds. Sometimes we also offer emergency bursaries. So I will use the very tragic and unfortunate example of the current situation in Europe, where we do have students from the countries that are being affected by conflict, and we do offer emergency bursaries for those students, as well as fundraising and offering further support to students in that specific situation. But we do respond to the needs of our students, and we do take care of our students. Now, the institution can provide bursaries as well as external bursary providers as well. Really, there are so many different sources of funding when you start searching that, really the hardest part of it is just completing the applications. But the more funds you apply for, the more opportunities you have for different sources of funding. Now, the final source of funding that I'm going to cover is our loans. And loans are funds, of course, that are borrowed, that do require repayment and do often involve interest charges. But sometimes loans, whether you're a Canadian or an international student, loans are sometimes a necessary part of being able to fund your education. So those funds can come from an institution, they can come from family or friends, they can come from your government, and of course they would require a repayment, often within a defined time period, and often at very, very low interest rates, because they are specifically designed for education. Now, other than getting money from other sources, one of the options and opportunities that international students have is the opportunity to work while they study. So as an international student, you are permitted to work and study at the same time by the Canadian government. So students who are working are allowed to work part-time during the academic year, which is from September through April. And then during study breaks, such as the December break, where people study various different observances, such as Christmas or Kwanzaa or oh, I'm sorry, my mind is drawing a blank, but there are various holidays that are celebrated during that period in December. So students are allowed to work full-time during that period. You also have reading weeks in the fall and in the winter terms. That's another week where students will often increase their hours in their jobs to full-time. And then of course the summer period, which runs from May to August, so for 4 full months, that is a non-mandatory study period. So students are allowed to be in Canada and not study full-time during that period. And that's a period when students often choose to work full-time and save money towards the next academic year. So for official information, please look at the Canada website, which is provided here. And if you just use the search engine to search for work and study, you will get information about the official regulations and immigration requirements for working as a student in Canada. Now, there's also the reality that some programs at Trent offer co-ops and opportunities to work as part of your program as well. So some of those, the co-ops are paid experiences. So those are integrated into your academic program. A co-op program means that there is a combination of academic study and work terms. So during those, during those work terms, you are earning money. Internships can be paid or unpaid, so you really need to be selective when you're selecting an internship. If opportunities to earn is a priority for you for your internship, you need to select accordingly and choose internships that are paid. I don't mean to discount the value of volunteering. Volunteering is a fantastic way to get Canadian work experience on your resume, which will make you more employable for those paid positions. So often employers are looking for people who have work experience, and sometimes you need to volunteer to get that experience so that employers can see that they're hiring someone who has already worked and has Canadian work experience. There are job boards on campus, as well as our career space, which is dedicated to helping students secure employment, whether that is during their studies or after. So they are supporting the job boards on campus, which are where all of those opportunities to work on campus are located, as well as jobs within the community. So there are some parameters that students do have to work within while they're studying. However, it is very possible to work and study. The minimum wage in Canada will depend on the province that you're studying. As I mentioned, Trent is located in Ontario, and right now, the student rate in Ontario is $14.10 per hour, and minimum wage in Ontario is actually $15 an hour. I am going to respond to your comments in the chat. So I will go through and answer those questions. Actually, I'm going to do that right now. So one of the questions, first of all, Osman, congratulations on your acceptance to Trent, and we're definitely looking forward to meeting you in the fall. Full scholarships. So I will talk about full scholarships. They do cover full tuition. they do not cover the cost of living. So we do not offer what is often called a full ride scholarship. A full ride scholarship would include all of your tuition expenses, as well as your living expenses and your meal plan and everything else. So we offer full tuition scholarships, which are renewable. So looking at that tuition slide that I showed earlier, tuition is about $25,000 per year. It is subject to change, and it does change each year. So in 2023, it will be a different amount. So a full tuition scholarship covers that amount, and it's renewable year over year. In order to get one of those full tuition scholarships, we are going to be looking at several things. We look at your grades in high school. We look at your community involvement. So we're looking at the kind of things that you do outside of the classroom. Community involvement may include what you're doing in your school. So perhaps that looks like being on your student council or your student government. Maybe it means that you are leading a club or a group at school that is dedicated to a particular cause. But it is about that student leadership. It's about that student organization work. It's about volunteerism. It also includes things in the community. So perhaps you volunteer in your community. Maybe you're working with children in the community. Maybe you have set up a community cleanup, or you tutor your peers, but it's about that community service piece that is something else that we look at. We also do look quite closely at financial need. So for students who are outstanding students, who are student leaders, they're captain of a sports team, they're on student council, they're really involved in their community, and the only means they would have to come and study at Trent would be a scholarship, that financial need is a factor that we look at. You still do need to have the means to support yourself partially, but we really do look at financial need as part of that bigger picture. And then the application itself requires references, and students have the option to either submit a video talking about a specific topic or prompt, or they have the option to write an essay on the same subject. So it is a process. The deadline each year for those global citizenship scholarships is February 15th for the following September. And we will be looking at restructuring our scholarship program to allow for scholarships at more points of more start times or more start terms each year. So we are looking to evolve. Please do visit our website and learn about our scholarships. It is very easy to find your way once you go to trentu.ca/international. And our email address is international@trentu.ca. You can also chat with ambassadors through our website. You will see a pop-up window, and you will receive a response from our ambassadors within 24 to 48 hours. So one of the questions is, can international work and study specifically African students? So it would be illegal for us to discriminate against anyone in Canada. All students from all source countries are permitted to work, provided the conditions on their study permit and entry visa specify that they have a work permit on their visa, on their study permit. And that is pretty typical. And I think that's all of the questions I see, and we are right at 11:30. So I am just going to stop the recording.